What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. And as I said yesterday, coming back to talk about Connected Franchise Mode Madden 20. And I'm not going to tell you right off the bat that it was not improved, because there are improvements, and we're going to talk about some of them. But I think if you look at the improvements that took place, and you assess that to many, this game mode is not where it should be, if improvement continues at this rate, the game will never get to where many of us expect it to have already been. So, one of the first things you're going to be presented with is a beat reporter that is there to cover your team. And she asks you some generic questions, predominantly where you think the team needs the most help, and depending on where you answer, you get an XP bonus for the opposing side. So there's not a lot of depth to it. Now, just a small thing, but at this point, if you're a vested Madden player, any small thing is less of an irritant and more of a reminder that the game is not paying attention to small details. And, I know a lot of people are saying positive things about the franchise mode, and I would challenge any of them to go through what I did and see if their experience isn't the same as mine. So when you first load up your franchise and you go into your first practice, they have the coordinator come out on the field, and we've talked about this is implemented about maybe 2 years ago, where the coordinator comes out and he's talking to your players, and he literally starts talking about game film. Now, if it's a brand new season, and you have new players in many cases, and you haven't played any games, where is that game film coming from? And I know to some people they say, oh my God, what a nitpick. The audio of a practice. But really, it's that small little detail that all they have to do is go in and not have that audio clip play. That shows you the details are not paid attention to here. So when the first thing I'm greeted with is this beat reporter where I get one or two answers and there's not a whole lot of, substance to it. And then I go into a practice where the coach talks as if we've been playing a game in week 8 of the season. It just doesn't seem like it functions as designed. Now, you also have your coordinators, and for the time being, they're just kind of that, silhouette of a person when they approach you in your things to do line. And what they do is ask you kind of some generic questions about how you're going to shut down the opposing team's X factor. So, for example, playing the Colts season and having to go against Phillip Rivers and Joey Bosa, I got any ideas how we're going to shut down Phillip Rivers, and you can respond with, disregard him, slow him down, neutralize him. Again, very vague things. I mean, yes, this is an improvement. Yes, this is something new, but how long will this provide actual substance to the game where you're going to want to feel compelled to continue to deal with it? Now, the interesting thing about this was during my preseason, Marlon Mack went out 16 weeks with a compound foot fracture. Afterwards, I honestly thought to myself, this is a time where the game can shine. We're told kind of a revamp of the way CFM works. This is not QB1, so there's, I suppose, not the scenario engine built in, but it's intriguing to me that I lose my starting halfback, and my beat reporter doesn't come in and ask, you have your number one running back out. If we're talking about detail for the second year in a row, how do you plan on dealing with this? Are you going to sign a free agent? Are you glad that you brought in Spencer Ware as a free agent? Now he's going to take the lead role. Or are you looking elsewhere? I mean, these are the things that we expect in a franchise mode when you talk about depth. And it doesn't happen. Jason Witten, Eli Manning, released during the preseason. You kind of get that very vague bottom line scroll where people are taken back by this. People are upset by this. And the signings that are made kind of go hand in hand with, he was my choice. Big win to get player XYZ. It just lacks a lot of substance. It just seems so shallow. Even when you're going 1 to 2 games in. And keep in mind, this is a game mode where you're specifically playing for this depth. If you wanted to just play games, you could go to exhibition and play your whole season out if you wanted to. But you're specifically hitting franchise mode for the art of building a team. And even in your first early experiences, you're not really given anything redeeming that makes you want to continue playing past year 3, 4, 5. And I think that is so symbolic of where franchise has went. You can give me these real small little things, these little tasks to do. But until I see them profoundly impacting my team or profoundly impacting other teams in the league, then it's not really going to figure in to making a game mode better. For that matter, contracts seem to be working a little better financially. Player logic in terms of retaining and releasing seems to be working better from what I've seen. But again, many of us in this community are talking about ultra small windows. We're talking about a beta that at most we've played through 1 season, 2 seasons, maybe some of us 3 at this point. So to come out and kind of make these grand claims that all these things have been improved, I'm not saying that you can't do it. I'm explaining I'm not willing to do it. And a big part of the reason I'm not willing to do it is I've seen the track record that EA has with franchise mode. And I know that no matter what I say now, I expect to have my word held to 3, 4, 5 months down the road when many of you maybe aren't even playing this game anymore. And I understand to many of you the popular thing is to come out and hear all these positive things. Oh, the way X Factor impacts franchise mode. The way the beat reporter impacts you as a coach. Sure, these things do have an impact on you. You are going through and completing tasks that you have not done before, but what is their overall meaning in the actual depth of the game? And when you lose your starting halfback and none of it seems to imply that the rest of the game understands that, there's a real issue. When I go to the news and Larry Fitzgerald getting cut in week 1 is a news story, and my running back being injured for the year, and in fact in the first game Andrew Luck fractured his hand but came back, I'm sorry, if you're actually watching the NFL and Marlon Mack goes down in the preseason and Andrew Luck gets hurt and goes out of the game in Buffalo week 1, that's going to be a lead news story, whether you're playing as the Colts in a franchise or not. And yet it's seemingly ignored. But I'm still answering questions about how I'm going to deal with certain players or what my coordinators think we should do to eliminate risks. So that's pretty much where I'm left with. You can't say that it hasn't improved because they have added things. But adding things at this rate and how much they've added impacts the environment of franchise mode truly remains to be seen, and certainly leaves an expectation that this will not grow at a rate conducive to getting a deep franchise mode that rivals any other sports title on the market. Love to know your thoughts on this. Appreciate you checking it out. I will be back in the week with more commentary.